Then I gave you a small little activity yesterday where you chose, rather quickly a small little topic for yourself. Do you have the equation? Have you worked a little on it? Yes, sir. You went back. All right. So, can the first group, somebody from the first group, tell me what is it that they have done? There were 5 groups yesterday, right? You were part of it. By the way, the topic that will be then automatically will decide the group you were from. Yes? Anyone who has worked a little more on it? Can you take a start and give me a little briefing about it?
So we will propose to develop some social enterprises. Actually, the topic of our project will be the fixing the fault line for unemployment using social enterprises. We will be developing, we will be identifying the opportunities to develop social enterprises based on creative economy. Like, what's the specialty of that phrase? And more of KCK to reduce the unemployment in KCK.
How many of you were having this topic? 4 or 5 people yesterday? Three people. And are you sitting together today or?
No, sir.
Then who else was there? Yes, Salim sir?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain a little more about this?
So basically, it was that how it will going to sustain for that particular period of time, like how we will need to get the sustainability in that particular project by resolving the issues. And after that, we are going to meet the expectations of that particular project.
And actually, the groups of social enterprises that first of all you will work for social value creation and then you come towards the economic value creation. So we propose this thing.
Okay, and this is from the list that I gave you?
Yes, there is 17th point.
Point 17, if you have that document, just keep looking at it so that you get some ideas. Because it is not just only your topic, people are discussing other topics as well. So it is good enough that you understand what we are talking about. So take a look at point 17 in the list that I gave you. This group is working on it and then started thinking about it and they are getting some idea of it now. Okay, now, naturally, the moment you identify something as a topic for yourself, what should be the next step? Who is the third member in your group? Yes, Farid?
The next topic, we proposed budget and if budget is approved.
No, Farid, budget would come quite late about it. First, we need to discuss the project, how to take a start. And the first thing we do is go for a good literature review about it, isn't it? You have to review all possible literature on that topic so that you understand the different dynamics of that topic. You understand it yourself better. Okay, so I'm talking from the proposal's perspective because yesterday I gave you a template where I gave you that what should be done first and what should be done at the second step and the third step. That is with you as well. So in the same context, we make a discussion so that it becomes beneficial for all of us.
First one, we will find literature.
Yes.
What other people have done to mitigate this problem
Yes.
previously and after.
So after the lit review, what should be done? What should be the next step?
Objectives. Finding the objectives. What we want.
Exactly. The next thing is, once you have understood your topic, you have selected a topic, you understood it, you reviewed all the literature about it. Now you need to identify, set your objectives. What is it that you want to do at that particular rate? Some broader objectives needs to be identified for which you want to do this project. And the objectives, how many objectives should we set?
One broad objective for this project.
One broad objective and then 2-3 sub-objectives perhaps. Okay. The list of objectives should not be very ambitious. You should not be over-ambitious with the list of the objectives. You can even identify one objective in the entire project and you can work with that. Or maybe a couple of 2 to 3 perhaps, not more than that. because then the scope of the project, that will be beyond your control. So you identify the objectives. Yes.
Sir, it is necessary we have even more than two objectives.
No, it is not necessary at all. But scope is something you will determine yourself because you will be applying resources to your project. And the most important two resources that you will be applying are time and money.
Yes.
And naturally the effort of the project team who are working on it. Okay, so that scope comes from setting the objectives. If you keep the objectives in such a manner, if they're in terms of frequency, they're more, or if in terms of the scope, they're pretty large. Naturally, you need more time and more resources to do that project. So the next step is identifying some broader objectives which you want to achieve. But then after that, what needs to be done? What is it that we need to do? All right. This is a misconception that you have to develop your hypothesis once you set your objectives. First, you need to consider that what kind of information will be available for my research objectives. What kind of data will actually come in the domain of my research objectives? And that will determine, frankly, the methodology that you're adopting will actually dictate that whether you're going for a quantitative strategy of analyzing the data or a qualitative strategy of analyzing the data. So you have to consider that how you're going to get the data on that particular project or what kind of data would be available. Okay, what kind of, perhaps if there are any variables, if you're thinking of a specific methodology, perhaps you're thinking quantitatively of generating quantitative data through a survey research maybe, or you would like to do an experiment, or perhaps you're doing, an action-based research. Or it all depends on how are you thinking of achieving your objectives. So you can't set hypotheses upfront. Okay, you have to think first about the kind of data that will be available, that will come to support, doing something about achieving your objectives. Is that fair enough? If you have any criticism, if you have a comment, you can always make, you can come up with a discussion. But methodology is something that you have to, the whole philosophy of your research has to be quite clearly dictated. That, the questions are clear to you, the objectives are clear to you, and now you're thinking about the kind of information you will generate that will actually support achieving your objectives. Once you have some idea about the methodology of your project, about the, about reaching out to the information, the actual core information of your research, naturally that will give you some idea towards fixing the budget, towards fixing the cost side of it. Because one, when you determine the scope, you have to have an idea that how much time will it take for me to complete this project. Would I take 6 months or 1 year maybe, or 2 years to finish this job? Even if I have a team with me, you have to estimate that for yourself. And usually what we do is, if I'm thinking that the work may be possible in 8 months, perhaps I keep 10 months or I keep 12 months so that I have a little room, within the duration of my project that I can fix my priorities and I can achieve different things. Now, these are the broader things that I'm telling you. That very detailed discussion, you can read books about it. There are so many people who can tell you about all these things. But then, naturally, the first thing to achieve is to fill in a template of a proposal. You have identified a topic, you have made a literature review. Now, these are different tasks that people do, right? Literature reviews are is a difficult job. It's not a very simple job. You have to know a technique to actually uh, review the most scientific, the most recent, the most updated, the most reliable literature, because there is so much of literature which is nonsensical. We go through so many things, but they're not worth it. They're not worth reading even. So what I'm saying is, naturally you have to give an outline. Yesterday I was telling you that you have to give, a short narrative of the broader story. And it has to be catchy enough for people to read and for people to react on it. You remember the points that I was making yesterday? You have to keep them in your head and then you go through your proposal. Once you have some shape of the proposal, and if you're working alone or if you're working in a team, then you sit together and you discuss, or you discuss it with your own self, that what should be my budget for this? How much money should I have for achieving these objectives that I've set in this particular project? All right. So as an example, we took a start with one of the group. I'm sure it is like with other groups as well. All the other groups were doing the same job. You've identified a topic. And now, stepwise, you should first work on developing a proposal template. Okay, that proposal template has to be in a nice manner, in a manner which is very attractive, which is very catchy, which grabs the attention of the people. No typos, no section errors, good grammar, and this is something, if I mean, I had very poor English, but it has over time developed this skill. Uh, and one reason for that was that, I worked in a newspaper after completing my first degree. I never learned English as a subject after my matriculation. But the thing is that what I'm saying is it is very important the way you're communicating with an agency. It should show that, you've worked on something, that you spent time on something. And it has to be in a nice manner, which is very catchy. So proposal, once that is ready, the next job is to think about the resources that you would need, the manpower that you would need, the technical resource that you would need. Okay? And that is where you start thinking that, okay, what kind of a budget template is there for me to fill? Like this one that I've given you, the black one that I gave you yesterday. This is actually generated for a local challenge fund. Now, this is funded by the World Bank. World Bank gives money to Higher Education Commission, and they announce the projects almost every year. Because, some of the problems in this country are such that we need consistent research on those areas. So they keep coming every year. Okay? Take a look at the second template that I gave you, the budget template. Now, can you see there are so many blanks in there? Okay, imagine that you have to fill in these blanks now for whatever project which you selected. And I'm sure you've worked on it a little. How many of you could finish it, by the way? All right, so it's Lalzada only?
Yes.
No, we have Dr. Rabia as well, Farisa as well. All right. Why don't you sit in your own group for a while?
Yes.
Okay, go back to those seats. Sit wherever you want to. Forget about the name tags for a minute. Sit with your own group again. Charge. For the next 10, 15 minutes. Go back or come in front. Sit with your own group. This is not the one. All right. Okay, everybody has a copy of it. You all have this copy with you? Yes. No. So let's wait for a while.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, this is one of the things we are given for the print.
It is all right. When you think on this first. All right, I hope you're sitting in your own group right now. Discuss the budget amongst yourself for your project. Okay, discuss the budget and fill in the blanks yourself. Shahid. If it is still incomplete, if it is complete, discuss it. Why we wrote some figures, what was in your head, okay? Uh, Enhance the learning of your group on whatever work you have done. Sure, discuss with each other.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
No, there is a 25% maximum time of that.
Yes, you can read that, but assume right now that you will have all the time in the world to do this project. Okay? We will come to the conditions later. Right now, just think about it that how much of my time should be invested or somebody's time should be invested in the project. But you're right, there are conditions on it. Discuss the resource requirement with each other for your project. Openly discuss the resource requirement. Okay? You have 10 minutes to fill in the blanks. Within 10 minutes, fill the page. Now, keep a few points in your head, you know. You can't just randomly write any numbers. The things that I discussed with you, the broader scope of your project or the objectives of your project, you need to discuss them that, you know, inside this project, what are we going to do? And how much time should we take? And how many people should be involved in this? This is the discussion you should have with each other. Okay, you can't just write random numbers in the blanks. Keep discussing the topic and the conditions and the methodology perhaps you're going to adopt in that topic. That discussion should take place. All right, I'm willing to record these groups, right? So I'm moving a page where you will write your name in a particular group. You will carry on with this work in future as a group. Okay, but keep discussing. It's a good way that you're sitting together today. Okay, discuss it more with each other. What is it that you want to do? This is going to be an assignment for you that you will have to submit to me. I'll give you a deadline later. Right now, just write the group details. All right, everybody, let's stop this now. We have discussed it enough. Okay. So I have these 5 groups with me now. Okay, and I don't know the topic as yet. Because I'll give you time even to rethink that as well. But what you're going to do is, in the next 1 month, from now, Dr. Mariam, please note down this. What's the date today? 20th July, 20th August. Okay, you will send me a draft of your research proposal. As a group, you will develop that, and also some shape of your budget for the same project. Okay, and I'll try to review it for you. I'll review it. I will not review it. I will send it to people, and I will ask them to give me their input. Good reviewers who sit on different committees. And we will be able to give you some points regarding your group effort. So, this is how we learn actually. It's a learning activity. But at the same time, this learning activity can benefit you for the next round of announcement for the local challenge fund, or even for the grand challenge fund. This will be announced again. It was announced last month, I guess. Last month was the deadline. Okay. So it will be announced again 11 months from now. That's a lot of time. So you can keep this networking, and you can work with each other. You can keep this group together. And if you desire to have a project of your own, you can apply to HEC in the future. And you must apply, I encourage you. Okay, if you work hard, I assure you, you will definitely get some funds to get a project. Okay, so this is how I'm thinking about it. You worked a little from yesterday on this. You discussed it today. Keep an interaction on this topic in future. Okay, अपने एक दूसरे के phone number, email IDs ये सारा कुछ आप रख लें. आपस में independent meetings करें. आजकल बड़ा आसान, Yahoo, Zoom, आप किसी भी forum पे आके आप कर सकते हैं. Microsoft Teams पे, Google पे, आप कहीं पे जाके interact कर सकते हैं. Find some time and keep discussing this in future. मेरी ये सारा submission तो महीना है. महीने के बाद मैं देख लूंगा. आप मेरा email ID ले रहे हैं, डॉक्टर मरियम का ले लें. We'll see कि आप इस डेडलाइन तक क्या करते हैं. ठीक है, उस डेडलाइन तक मुझे जितने भी proposals आएंगे with some budget, I'll independently review them for you. और आपको कुछ comments दे देंगे कि इसमें क्या improvement होनी चाहिए, इसमें क्या किसी को क्या ठीक लग रहा है और क्या गलत है. Which will be, some feedback that you will get on your project, which will give you, encouragement as well कि अगर उसमें कुछ कमी है या कोई direction missing है या कुछ है, शायद वो आपको मिल जाए. ठीक है, और फ्यूचर में आप उसको ओवरकम करके आप दोबारा एफर्ट करेंगे और आप उसको आप बेशक एज अ ग्रुप, when you're working as a group, there's a lot of room. आप काम कर सकते हैं इकट्ठे. अगर आपने प्रोजेक्ट में देखा हो, inside the project, it's only about time devotion. आपस में डिसाइड कर सकते हैं who can give more time and who can give less time in the project, and then accordingly you can adjust people and you can take people on board. Okay. So this was about, and I'm stopping it right now. We will keep discussing it other than, at this forum, out of this room, perhaps in our offices with each other. Questions will be there, I'm sure, at the stages of it. We're always there to help you out with it. Okay, we can again arrange special sessions for you with some other people who will come, who have won the projects, who have a lot of experience, who can talk about it. But you have to have some questions. You have to have something that where do you need support? Where is it that you lack something, and that could be strengthened. All right. So today's topic was actually this one. the one at my back. Okay? Uh, but developing a vibrant research culture in Pakistani universities. We all work in universities. Some universities have a very strong, good kind of culture which perhaps people want to adopt to. There are some others who are still lagging behind, who don't have that culture of research inside their institution. And most of them actually are like that, unfortunately. But let's discuss this, that, what is a vibrant research culture? Does that exist in our institution, number one? And if it is not there, what could be done to improve the situation? So if you could raise your hand and talk a little about your own university's culture of the research culture. Talk about it openly because your colleagues here, we're trying to understand the problem and we want to do something about it. Talk about your own university. So I'll take a start with Dr. Rabia. What kind of culture do you have at Shahid Benazir Bhutto University?
Honestly speaking, so I recently joined Shahid University, and till now you've seen that they are partnered with an international conference that is being conducted, and they have circulated among their employees that whatsoever is that they encourage actually to participate in that conference along with the students. Like in management science department, we do not have currently any research scholars like PhD and MS programs are not yet started, but those departments who have already started, such as Ms. Manish discussed last day, that they are doing the actual research about the mushroom. They have an agriculture area, and over there they have experimented, and then they have started producing, and now they are providing that in the market. So this is something they are doing in the
But some you're there, right? And I think you're head of the department.
Yes.
So,
Sir, I think a little bit about management science department. So it's not very developed cultural research because, as she said, that we don't have MPhil or PhDs right now. We are about to start MS in I think next semester, fall semester. But still, we are lacking certain kind of linkages within the industry, because obviously if we have a linkage with industry, we will be identifying certain key areas that we can go for research. Certain other things I think so is problem are because they are involved teachers too much in academic or in administrative tasks. Obviously, they create problems for them because they have to do their teaching, they have to do this administrative task. So there's so much little time left for research. So we have to develop this kind of culture. Like obviously, this administrative task to people who are actually concerned with that and more featured in research kind of techniques. So this is the problem over there.
Broadly speaking, you have read the mission statement of many universities in Pakistan. Your university would have one. And no matter which university you take in Pakistan, and if you read their mission statement or their vision statement, they will talk about research. And one or the other, because research is one big dimension of knowledge creation, and universities are supposed to do that. Now, we often think that it is the VC's job or it is the HEC's job to give us money. I've seen so many universities where they have research funds and they're not utilized. Even inside the institution, if you have a budget for research, allocated budget for research activities where students can benefit or faculty members can benefit, and they're short proposals where people are not taking that, that culture is not there, frankly. It is not about that they can do it or they can't. But when you sit in an organization, and it's like a lot of herd behavior that you see, because you adopt a certain kind of behavior when you become a part of an organization, you're learning from all others. You adopt to that culture whatever is prevailing there. And at times, a younger faculty will take a lead in a couple of senior people. If the seniors are not doing research and a younger one is doing it, they will make fun of him or her, perhaps. So, because वो cultural constraints है आपकी, क्योंकि एक organization के अंदर मिजाज ऐसा बना हुआ है. अब, cultural change के लिए क्या करना चाहिए? कैसे ये change लाया जाए? Whose job is this? ये कौन करेगा? क्या हम इंडिविजुअली कुछ कोशिश करेंगे या कलेक्टिवली करेंगे या हायर मैनेजमेंट कुछ करेगी या रेगुलेशन से कुछ होगा? हम अक्सर एचसी की रेगुलेशन पे बड़ा क्वेश्चन मार्क लगाते हैं, बाज़ औक़ात बड़ा सही भी लगाते हैं, लेकिन बाज़ औक़ात हम बड़ा अनफेयर लगाते हैं, क्योंकि देखिए मोस्ट ऑफ द फंडिंग in Pakistani universities is coming from the government exchequer. It's a very poor country. The resource is very little. You know all the problems. We know all the economic problems of this country. We're in a mess. There's a very small amount of money that comes to higher education. And part of that goes to the research. इसका मतलब है ये बड़े मुश्किल वाले पैसे हैं. ठीक है? या अगर वो इस्तेमाल में ना, ठीक है, या कोई अच्छी चीज है और वो उसके लिए फंड्स नहीं है, तो बड़ी कंस्ट्रेंट्स वाली बात. ये एक बड़ी लिमिटिंग बात. लेकिन slowly and gradually we have to think कि कल्चर आजकल क्या है? Promotion based एक कल्चर है. I want to grab the next seat. Most of the faculty members think like that. They have to publish under the HC rules. उन्होंने rules बेचारों ने बना दिए हैं. यार इधर पब्लिश करो, उधर पब्लिश करो, ये इम्पैक्ट हो, वो इम्पैक्ट हो, दुनिया जहान के वो अपने तरीके से लगे हुए हैं कि somehow हम ओरिएंटेशन ठीक करते हैं. हम लूप होल्स ढूंढते रहते हैं, ठीक है, ताकि हमारी कुछ उनकी तरफ से अनरियलिस्टिक टारगेट्स हैं, कुछ हमारी अप्रोच ठीक नहीं है. I'm sure you must have been observing the print media or the electronic media or the social media, where a lot of debate takes place, where the malpractice in Pakistan about research is being discussed. And we know there are problems. And this is naturally about how to get out of it, how to think straight. Okay? How to perhaps think about your own country, your own community, your own people, about your own institutions. How to inculcate that culture. And then it should be problem-based research, problem solution based or oriented towards problems, a research, something not constrained to a desk only, which is meaningless, but something concrete. And the most important thing is, we often complain of that government is not buying our research. Many of the researchers in Pakistan would complain of this कि जी हमने तो रिसर्च कर ली है, गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी वाले हमें ना पूछते हैं, ना बुलाते हैं, ना हमारी बात कोई देखता है, ना हमसे कोई पूछता है. The problem is ये डिस्कनेक्ट क्यों है, ये डिस्ट्रस्ट क्यों है? गवर्नमेंट पैसा नहीं देना चाहती, आपका रिसर्च जो थोड़ा बहुत ही भूल जाता है उससे बेनिफिट नहीं करती. बाकी दुनिया में आप जितना देख लें, वेस्ट में आप जहां पे भी देख लें, think tanks of the government are universities. The real think tanks in good countries and good economies are actually the researchers sitting out there in the universities. So how can we think about developing a vibrant culture which is problem-based research, which is problem-oriented research, where the environment, is such that people are motivated to do research rather than just run away from it. So there are, these are the small dimensions which we should bring into our discussion. I'm sure you know about your own university. कि वहाँ पे कितना रिसर्च होता है और कैसे होता है और कौन लोग करते हैं. अक्सर बिगिनिंग में अभी तो बहुत सारे दोस्त जाते हैं. डॉक्टर नासिर was there, he was our previous director. So there were 5-6 of us who would go to international conferences. Every time, we would write some work and we would apply for funds and we would get the funds and we would go for international conferences. So he kept on signing this approval every 6 to 8 months for a person or every year for a person. So you would say, yeah, are you the only people who would go abroad and, present your papers? So we said, no, we haven't stopped anybody. There are 80, 90 people who were working here by that time. It was 80, 90 now. There's more. But only a couple are coming back with the same kind of request. So what I'm saying is you become very visible if you're doing something. And by the way, again, one benefit is that if you want to go out of your country and review your work through someone who is in that field, a conference is a very good way to do that. But then, where from would you need the encouragement? Actually, you have to convince yourself. And you have to trust your own self that, it is something not very big. Just write something. Okay, go through the research process, develop a working paper, and send it to a conference. You can do that in the country or out of the country. And you will get some funds for your support. And this is how the reviews would take place. And you come in that loop where, you start producing something as a researcher. So, this is what I've already discussed with you, that, it all depends what is happening inside the organization, how your top management is thinking about it, how much motivation they give you, how much of an environment they create. Dr. Cyber talked about, that faculty remain busy with many other administrative tasks. This is something as a faculty you have to realize. You have to realize that, what is it that you want to ultimately achieve in your career? Okay, you want to be a star academic, or you want to be a star researcher, or you want to be a star administrator. These are different lines that you have to choose. There are people who love writing books, for example. Okay, there are people who love teaching. There are people who take a lot of interest in research. Now, these are different dimensions of the same profession that we are into. One model is where you're a jack of all trades and master of none. It could be that. Keep doing everything. Even that is a model. But then you have to see that where does that take me in my career, in my profession? How do I progress? Progress is very important. You can't be stagnant in your career. You have to think. So, I've seen academics in Pakistan, researchers in Pakistan, who would say that, यार मैंने दुनिया देखनी है, उसके लिए मैं conference paper लिखूं. Not a bad objective. It's not a bad objective. Because you still have to attend a conference for a day, no matter where in the world you are. Even that one day will benefit you. Your work will be reviewed. You will make some contacts, will develop some network. So it will enhance your career goals. So it all depends on what is happening inside the university. What kind of a leadership, academic leadership is again very important. Who is leading from the front? And then you have to have a good team with you as well. So who is a good team? You're a good team in a university. You have to find some team partners where you can work together and you can start developing a culture, if it is not there, a vibrant culture where you start taking initiatives. The assignment that I gave you, imagine for a minute that it happens for you. You will see the impact of it. The moment you will get, a project of your own, you will see the change. Yourself and your institution will see that change. All right, so national priorities have to be kept, and this is what I kept on telling you, that we have to think about what to research. And, the practice that we've been having since yesterday, these are some of the topics which are told to you. But then you're an independent thinker. These are just for your orientation, that what are the important problems? You know the important problems better than me. And yesterday we said that they depend on your own interests, that what interests you? What is it that catches you, attracts you, that you read more about it, you read more into it. So we have a future nationally in this country. And the future depends on how do we conduct ourselves presently. How do we do things presently? If you are not doing anything and you don't do it for the next couple of years, naturally the future is bleak, the future is not very bright. But if you take an initiative right from today, the future is bright. 5 years from now, many of you will be up in their careers. They'll be, far ahead in the career that you have today. And we'll be very proud of all of you. And this is how you must think about it. And in any ways, we are in this profession. We have to spend time. We're not moving here and there. So the profession is important. Maybe you're sitting in one university today, tomorrow you're sitting in another university. Or perhaps after some time you're sitting in some international university. You're still contributing to the cause of Pakistan. Okay, you can still research about the problems of Pakistan, no matter if you're sitting in US or in Japan or in Middle East, no matter where you sit. Because this country will remain important for you. It's our homeland. Everybody that we know of, they are here. Our friends, our family, everybody. So this is something we need to think about, that how to make the existing situation better. Okay, how to become a factor in the development of this culture. What should be done? So you should never miss on a meeting which is discussing anything about research in your university. You should never. Even if that is attending a thesis defense or a proposal defense or something like that, you should never miss on it. And at the same time, the teaming committee meetings where you're thinking about what to do, if you're being made a part of the review teams perhaps or something like that, do take interest. And this is how that cultural change happens slowly and gradually, because you're taking interest. Your interest is far more important, which will create that small change at the grassroots level where, the culture starts evolving and it changes. I talked about the shrinking budgets. This time, again, you all know that higher education will be getting lesser funds because they're already short of money. They don't have money for many, many things. This will keep shrinking in future. Okay, so not only these small little things that you're doing at your own, this will create some revenue for your own institution as well. Only if you're supporting your auric budget through it, because 15% of the money goes to the auric budget, no matter which project you're bringing to the university. It is generating some revenue for the university, isn't it? So that's your contribution, again, of generating some revenue as well. So again, research is such a dimension that we kept on saying that, okay, go and hunt the funds, go and hunt the funds. But then, you can do consultative research as well. For organizations, you can conduct research as well. There are so many organizations who want answers, who want solutions to their problems. You can even dig into that. Okay. Again, that will generate some revenue for your own self and for your organization. So that industry linkage type of a research where you're, engaging yourself with the industry somehow through your research, because you can't do teaching them, You can build their capacity in some areas because you're a champion of that. And also you can take some of their problems and you can conduct a research. Yes, please.
Then another suggestion, it might be like utilized in the future. As we know that government is reducing our budget for education institutions or on education. So like one of the policy amendments that we can do or we can suggest is that abroad, different industries are directed that if they invest or if they give some funds to the developing countries, they would be taxed less than as compared to the other industries. So if the government do this or support this policy, that if industry or any company who are investing or who are giving funds to the universities or research projects in that much proportion, we will take them as, or we might contact different industries and ask them to channelize their funds to our institutions in CSR, because they are bound to give funds in CSR. So like, this is how our universities will be supported, our projects will be supported, and we can suggest amendments.
Theoretically, that is totally correct, theoretically speaking, but practically, that's not possible.
So nowadays.
I'm telling you, yes, at a broader level, I mean, government always is interested in establishing these relationships. Business in Pakistan, but the business in any corner of the world is profit oriented. Okay, their sole objective is to make money. Okay, now that is the objective that they have. What is the objective of a university? Our objectives are totally different. You have to somehow align the objectives together. And you have to create that sense of friendship where, where a feeling is there that you benefit and I benefit, so win-win kind of a scenario. Since yesterday, I'm talking about the cost benefit analysis. No business would just throw out money where they're not getting anything out of it. Naturally, they would give money to gain more benefit. Business psychology is very simple. Whatever you are investing, you should have a return. Okay, that's the business psychology. But again, that is possible. I can have a separate lecture on that, or we can have a separate interaction on that. University and business, any business per se. I mean, we have so many businesses here in Peshawar, and we keep on interacting them. But it happens more at the personal level, rather than at the institutional level. At the institutional level, it is one odd activity that happens after a year. Many people from businesses come, we sit together, that's it. We have a cup of tea, there's a good presentation, everything fades away, and that's it. We go back. But the real thing is, how can you as an individual faculty member connect with some business? You have to naturally find some pathway. You have to build an understanding. And how could you be beneficial? Your work, your research, your own specialty can benefit a business. And the moment you have a proposal for them, where they think that your research input can be beneficial for us, you will get a consultancy independently, or your institution will get it, or the way you want it to happen. So I'm saying that, understanding the psychology of different organizations in this is important.
So is it important to always work with business-based organizations if you work with NGOs?
Yes, you can. A business was just an example that I was quoting here. You can work with any kind of organization. Even, you can work with the government even. You can support their work. Every year, so much money is spent on different projects of the government. Has any university conducted any impact of those projects? I don't find it, Frank. I don't find it by any university that it is doing. The money that you're spending, the public money that you're spending on different projects that the government is spending. There are so many projects that government comes up with every year. Is it creating any impact? Has any university dared or cared, to measure the impact of those projects? I'll give you an example. LUMS do this every year. Whatever Punjab government is doing, they will pick on different projects and they will just carry on with an impact study. That what kind of impact is this project producing after putting so much money and effort and resources? What is the impact? And the government of Punjab relies a lot on that research. So that that trust is being developed, and that is why the government is giving them such a lot of money in the form of research projects. Small little thing, isn't it? Another observation that I had there, which I propose here, it happens here as well, partly, is that Dr. Mufti would recall that, LUMS arranges for the final year students when they're about to, they're in the last semester and they're about to write their research. So when the students are ready with the research and they're strictly given a research on the basis of a discussion that happens before typing any research proposal, they ask the business community to come and present your business problems. Every business is suffering with some problems, isn't it? It's not that they're in an idealistic scenario and they're running with everything 100%. So they make small little presentation. The business community, they would make small little presentations, introduce their company, talk about their overall picture, and then they would come up with a specific problem. And students would be sitting. And some student would pick that problem. And they will take that as their degree project, as their research project for that particular degree. And they will be given a stipulated time in which they will make a research proposal. The students will make a research proposal to the same company again. And if it goes, not only they go for that research, but they get funding, they get placement in future. So there are so many things connected with each other. But they have made that system where they're asking business community to come and present their business problems, and students take their projects out of there, small little projects. They get the funding for it as well. And it is a problem-based research that they're doing. And that is why I'm telling you, as institutions, we have to learn this from them. We should learn these things. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a private university or a public university. It doesn't matter at all. It's it's about learning from each other. It's about sharing knowledge. So again, that's like a discussion we can have for hours. But then we need to understand that the priorities or the objectives of the organization, they have to come to some aligning point where you can connect with each other. That needs to be understood. So let's,
Excuse me. Sir.
yeah.
So just one, you can say, I can ask for advice or something. Usually in universities, we are bound to teach, and as Mr. Summer stated, we have to perform at least 3 administrative tasks. So is it something that whenever we want to research, we have to have time other than that, like when we are off and we go back to homes, or we can manage, if we can manage within institution, what would be that mechanism? If you can give us some.
See, we have worked on different administrative positions when and still we are doing it. Because it's like supporting your university. Yesterday I was talking with Dr. Adil from Pate University, and I was surprised totally. They are in their entire management area, there are just 8-9 people. They don't have an office assistant, they don't have an accountant, they don't have anybody there. Literally, all the faculty is doing everything. They're maintaining the accounts and they're administratively running it, and they're doing everything. Now that's beyond their jobs.
That they have assigned the task to the students as internship.
See, so they take in turns and they do it.
In our university, administrative task, for example, for me, that is not an issue at all. Not even the teaching the subject is not an issue for me. But for me, the issue is space. If I'm sitting with 8 faculty members in one office and all of them are talking with each other and they are enjoying me, how would I work on my research? That is the main issue.
You may see that very, almost regularly. I don't think so. And again, that's a private public, kind of a discussion. In private universities, you're always on your toes. You find very little time to actually interact with each other because you're monitored a lot and this and that. There are SOPs, but in public sector, we take this leverage. Okay, we're sitting with each other when we're free. We're having gupshup for a very long time, discussing our old stories and new stories and present stories.
Yes.
And we discuss about the problems of this country and personal problems, and this is how most of our time is spent. I tell you honestly, I've remained on different positions at Earth Sciences. Daily, hardly 5% of my time is taken by administrative tasks. Hardly, I'm saying, because there's a support system as well. Yes, we are sick of the meetings because we have a number of meetings at times, many of them. But then when I'm sitting in my office, it's hardly 5 to 7% of the time that I spend on that task. The rest of the time is spent on something else, on my teaching, assignments, preparation of the course, engaging in other meetings and this and that. But I'm saying, Dr. Saba, you were saying how to find time. You can find time. Because if something is important for me, I will definitely find time for it. And it could be out of your, administrative tasks or even your teaching assignments or even in them, you should take class regularly. But then again, there's like 6 to 8 hours daily we come to our offices. How much of the hours we teach, how much of the hours we spend on assignments? Not that much. In a week's time, there is a lot of time that, you can, if you've seen some of the professors in Western universities, they keep their computers right by the side of the wall. They're not even looking at the door. So if this is my office, I'm sitting like this and I'm working. And when they work, you can't teach them. You can't knock at their door. Because if their back is towards the door, you cannot even enter their room. They mind it because they're working. Ours is totally opposite. We always face it towards the door, like we are greeting, we are sitting there to come in.
Except the students can't leave us to take.
No, reserve timings for them. Reserve timings.
But sir,
No, you should. These are disciplines you have to implement. This is a discipline that I've implemented with my students. I give them a couple of hours every week. Other than the course hours, they are only allowed to visit me in those hours. They cannot come in just like that. Okay, so this is a discipline you have to impose.
But sir, your one statement that hit my mind in the law, that if you are wasting time, it has a great opportunity cost for us.
Yes, yes. So the,
From yesterday
the,
to now,
the,
like I'm thinking about it.
the thing is, you have to realize what is important. Nobody can tell you this. You have to realize it yourself. Okay, you have to understand it yourself. What is important? Time is the biggest asset that you have. All other assets that you have, they're useless compared to the time that you have. And especially at this particular junction of your life, at this particular state of your life, because you're still very young and you have a long way to go. This time has more utility compared to the time perhaps that you will have later. This is important, utilize it properly. So I will stop it here. Mufti Saab is waiting from the last 15-20 minutes. I've given you some material on this today. There's a good paper on this, that what should be done inside a university to change the cultural dimension of research. Go through it when you have time. You will have my slides as well. You can go through them as well. But again, the change will start from you. You have to create the change in your own self. Only that will perhaps change the culture of your institution. All right, so I'll stop here. And we have late. Dr. Saab, I'm very sorry. I took 15 minutes, but we started late. Gee. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it was like.
How are you?